you need to do is read the Torah to know there could never be a possibility that the original Jews were black.
All I have to do is read the Torah to know there can never, he said never, be a possibility that the original Jew was black. Okay, well, I'm gonna read the Torah. Let's Numbers 25:7. This is in the Torah, and it says, "And when Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, saw it, he rose up from among the congregation and took a javelin in his hand." Right? This is in the Torah. Phinehas. Let's just take a look at this word, Phinehas. Proper masculine, Egyptian, Pen-Nahisi, meaning the Negro. The Negro. That's the high priest lineage. The third high priest of Israel, who's a Jew, tribe of Levi, which is in the kingdom of Judah, which makes him a Jew. Right here in the Torah, it's calling him the Negro. So how, if I read the Torah, I would know it's impossible if when I read the Torah, one of the most important people in the Torah is literally called a Negro.
Christian leaders are calling on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to stop a bill proposed by members of his coalition to make it criminal to tell people about Jesus in Israel. Our Jerusalem correspondent Daniel Cohen is live near Tel Aviv with more. Good morning, Daniel.
Good morning, Allison. Good morning, everyone. A big story just before, days before Palm Sunday, Good Friday, and Easter. Sacred time for Christians. Two ultra-Orthodox members of Prime Minister Netanyahu's coalition have introduced a bill that would punish believers for sharing the gospel of Jesus with prison time. United Torah Judaism Knesset members Moshe Gafni and Yaakov Asher introduced legislation last week making it illegal to share in conversation or produce content online, in print, or by mail. Their explanation of the bill emphasizes a warning to stop Christians in particular. The punishment, 1 year in prison or 2 years for...
Have you ever heard that today's Jews aren't the real Jews? Let me break this down as bare bones as possible. Remember Esau from the Bible, Jacob's evil twin brother? Well, during Maccabean rule, many of his descendants, known as Edomites, assimilated into Judean culture, religion, and society. Remember King Herod? Well, he was one of them. But some anti-Semites today, particularly those from the radical camps of the Hebrew Israelite movement, teach that these Edomite converts are the ancestors of modern Jews, or at least Ashkenazim, making Ashkenazi Jews fake Jews, claiming that Edomite Jews went to Europe, while real Jews went to Africa. So what's the deal? Hundreds of thousands of Jews were exiled and enslaved throughout the Roman Empire, which included parts of Europe and Africa. And there's nothing to indicate that Roman slavers differentiated between Jews based on belief and ethnic background. By casting the Jewish people as converts from Israel's ancient enemy, it feeds into the idea that the Jewish people are trying to steal the biblical heritage. Remember, Esau wanted to steal back the birthright of Israel from Jacob. This is the perfect lie, the perfect distortion of history to justify this version of replacement theology. So the next time you hear someone refer to Jews as Edomites, you'll know how to respond.
The Sahar TV, and you have to take a look at this video of a Palestinian, right? A made-up Palestinian American taking a blood test, genetic testing to see where she's from, and you wouldn't believe what it says on her test. Watch.
Okay, so I just did blood work for genetic testing because I just met with my genetic counselor. I met with her 3 years ago to initially start my genetic counseling to check my genetics and all that stuff for some health stuff. This was before October 7th. It was 3 years ago. It was like in August that her and I met. Okay. And we literally, the cool thing about genetic testing is that they literally sit there and draw out your entire family tree. Now, I'm Palestinian. I'm from Gaza. All right. A lot has happened in the last 3 years. But something to note is that my parents are first cousins. Okay. My dad is one of 18 brothers and sisters from the same.
Of course, they're first cousins. And by the way, the Palestinian identity doesn't actually exist. These people looked at themselves as Bilad Hashamis or Egyptians or Ottomans that migrated during the Ottoman Empire, conquering the region. So the term Palestinian doesn't exist. They coined that term. You know, only the Jews identify themselves as Palestinian Jews before Israel was created. The local Arabs of the region looked at themselves as South Syrians or Bilad Hashamis.
Parents. And like I said, my parents are cousins. And so you can imagine this family tree, massive, huge. Also, besides it being confusing, there's a lot that I don't know. Just a lot. Most of my family does not have access to healthcare. Okay. And a lot of my family has cancer because they're in area with a lot of radiation from warfare. You get my point. So her and I revisited today, decided to do my blood work, and she shows me my family tree. She's like, just want to go through this and make sure it's right. because it's kind of crazy. And then tell me why. At the very bottom of the page, it says Ashkenazi Jewish with a check mark, and it says yes. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, I don't like that.
Of course you don't like that, right? You should go back to Poland. You should go back to Poland, right? They accuse the Jews that are not from the region, even though Ashkenazi Jews are from the region. Oh no, they're not from the region. They should go back to Poland. You should go back to Poland. That's your logic, not mine. It's not our logic. Of course you wouldn't like it. Just proving to you that Jews were here before.
She's like, I know, but it's just region. And here's the thing. She didn't even have to justify it, because as a genetic counselor, it does make sense, but I don't like it. Pew-wee. I do not like it. But it's just the thing that it sucks, because it's like, when she showed me my family tree, I had to take about 40 people off of there. Like, they died, they were killed, they're missing, we're pretty sure they're dead. And she was just sitting there looking at me like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's just like the grieving process of the last like few years, but yeah, there's probably more. But yeah, we're going to remove about 40 of these people. And then she was like, and most of them are children. I'm like, yep.
Wow.
So people really want to argue on who you really are in this world. To the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, y'all are the true children of the Most High God of this world, of this earth, that made the heavens and the earth. Nobody else is a part of that love that he have for you. You got people calling themselves Jewish when Jewish is trying to pertain to something. That doesn't mean that you are the true Jew of the Bible. You are an imposter if you are Jewish. The real Jews are these black people that you see walking the earth today, all around this earth. You can't just up and take somebody's nationality, true nationality at that. You taking somebody's true nationality and trying to convert yourself, trying to change yourself into believing that you are a Jew when you are not. You are Jewish, which is pertaining to. Doesn't mean that you're the real deal. Now, I understand people want to be like us. People want to have swag like us. But guess what? It'll never happen. We are special in the Most High God's eyes, and he knows that. Whether you want to believe it or not, it's not up to you. It's up to the Most High God for him to have a special people of his own versus a people that he dislike, as the Bible says. So don't hate the messenger. Hate the person that did it. And I really don't think you should do that, because the Most High God of this earth, he's a terrible God. And I don't mean as in terrible as in a bad way, but I mean as in terrible as in you don't want to get on his bad side, because after that, it becomes death. So blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, y'all are the true people of the Bible. Don't let nobody else tell y'all different. If they telling y'all different, all y'all doing is digging yourself a hole.
I'm about to show you something extremely controversial. It's even illegal in the state of Israel to obtain this. And if you do obtain it, it's illegal to show it and or talk about it. Ladies and gentlemen, my DNA. Now, I bet you thought it was going to be a lot crazier than that, right? Now, you might ask yourself, why is it illegal to obtain this in the state of Israel? Because it proves through your DNA that Jews around the world have no ancestral ties to the land of Israel. Because it proves through your DNA that Jews around the world have no ancestral ties to the land of Israel.
We Jews have been in the land of Israel since the times of biblical Joshua.
Who is we? No, really, who is we? You live in Israel, so I don't expect you to be able to provide genetic or ancestral receipts for your claims about us Jews, because those kinds of receipts are illegal in Israel without a court order and other special permissions. The Jerusalem Post explains, such a thing cannot exist as kits sold directly to the public, going on to say that they have possible effects on subjects and their families. Furthermore, the national implications of these tests could hold or affect, nice grammar, Jerusalem Post, could hold or affect with Israel being a government-recognized Jewish state. Don't you just love when they say the quiet parts out loud? But since they won't let you get receipts for us Jews, I brought my own. Wow. So I, an Ashkenazi, have no genetic or ancestral ties to the region of historic Palestine. So I, an Ashkenazi, have no genetic or ancestral ties to the region of historic Palestine. And yet Israel still claims it's my homeland, which I could move to and become a citizen of under the ironically named Law of Return.
Have you heard of the Kuzavim?
Yeah, that's us. That's me, actually.
Okay, so what is your... this is a question that comes from outside of Israel. What is your opinion about the theory that Ashkenazim came from Kuzavim?
It seems relevant. It's quite obvious that white Jewish people, Ashkenazi from Europe, are not genetically, as much as I can tell, I'm not an expert, but they don't look the same like Arab Jews, people that came from Arab countries, and Ethiopians. I don't think there's a lot of, there may be some genetic relations, but there's a lot of genetic differences, and any theory that says that we're not genetically come from the same ancestors makes sense to me,
This is a fascinating book, and the web pages are there, you can check it out. Facts are facts. This is a book that was written by a Jewish man, and he confronted the thinking of many of the high-placed individuals of the world. This is interesting stuff. In this book, Benjamin H. Friedman, a Jewish man, writes about the Jews and reveals an interesting history. He states that the present Jews in Palestine are not the true descendants of the Judeans, but rather descendants of the Khazars. Benjamin H. Friedman claims that the word Jew was only introduced into the English language in the 18th century, and that Jesus referred to himself as a Judean and not as a Jew. Inscribed upon the cross when Jesus was crucified were the Latin words Iesus Nazarenus Rex Iodeorum, which means Jesus of Nazareth, ruler of the Judean. Now this is fascinating. I went and checked it, and it is so. Yes, it happens to be so. Now the word Jew today has a religious as well as a political connotation. You think of a Jewish entity, a government, but you also think of their religion incorporated at the same time, whereas the term Judean is a geographic connotation. It's a geographic, it doesn't incorporate the religion. It's where he came from. He was from Judah. He was a Judean. The Talmud consists of 63 books of legal, ethical, and historical writings of the ancient rabbis. It was edited 5 centuries after the birth of Jesus. It is a compendium of law and lore. It is the legal code which forms the basis of the Jewish religious law, and it is, note, the textbook used in the training of rabbis. So rabbis are trained according to the Talmud, and the Talmud has very little in common with the Bible. Then he states, from the birth of Jesus until this day, there have never been recorded more vicious and vile, libelous blasphemies of Jesus or Christians and the Christian faith by anyone, anywhere, or any time than you will find between the covers of the infamous 63 books, which are the legal code which forms the basis of the Jewish religious law as well as the textbook used in the training of rabbis. I don't want to go into it.
So who are the real Jews?
The people. Who were the modern, yes, who are the descendants? So we know, and I believe, and I agree with you as a Christian, that God promised this land from modern day Iraq to modern day Egypt to this people, the Jews, to Abram's, actually not to Abram's descendants, as it says in Genesis 15. Who are his descendants now, and how do we know who they are?
But then if I'm going to go forth and say, well, you know, those that say that they are Jews but are in fact not, but are the synagogue of Satan, and the Ashkenazi are in fact not Jews, they are sons of Gomer, Japheth, they're not even Shemites. Many people have come to me and said, well, who are the real Jews then? Where are the Jews and what's going on?
So I think it's fair to ask, who are they and how do we know? So the current prime minister's ancestors weren't from here within recorded history. He has no deed. Bibi Netanyahu, on one side, his family's from Poland. They're from Eastern Europe. So how do we know that he has a connection to the people who God promised the land to, Abram's descendants? How do we know that?
As I said, 92% of the people that say that they are Jews today are in fact Ashkenazi.
Netanyahu's parents did not speak Hebrew. Okay, they didn't live in this region. Netanyahu, the founders of this country, were mostly secular. Some of them were avowed atheists. They were not praying for the peace of Jerusalem. They weren't praying at all because they didn't believe in God. There's no genealogy linking their families to the people of this land 3,000 years ago. They're not.
Because what's happened is the Ashkenazi are in fact occupying the tents of Shem, the real Shemites. Shem's not there. It's the Zionist occupiers that are there.
So how do we know, since they didn't share a language, they didn't share a religion, they had no religion whatsoever, how do we know that they had a right to come here from Eastern Europe?
And if I'm right, it's 1982, and he didn't go by Benjamin Netanyahu back then. He went by whatever his more, European-sounded name was. He was Netanyahu by the 90s.
Why did he change his name?
Well, they all kind of, because the whole thing, Joe, is that they're all, Israel was a European, construct. They were made by a bunch of Europeans who came over and created Israel. But then they have to claim that they're the true Semitic people.
Is it true that genetic testing is outlawed there?
I believe that is true. I believe that's true. I mean, double check me on that, but I believe it's true.
We should definitely double check that
permission
right now.
from the government to go get DNA tests and stuff.
Hi, may I ask you a question?
Yes.
How do you feel as an American Jew about Netanyahu addressing Congress?
The Obama administration, Netanyahu boldly declared in front of Congress that he represents all Jews. This claim is an act of an identity theft. We will not remain silent about this.
Thank you.
Here are 7 celebrities you'll be shocked to find out are not Jewish. First up, Martin Short is the king of slapstick, but is 100% not a member of the tribe. Next up, we have Rachel Brosnahan, who played Mrs. Maisel, so we all just assumed she was Jewish? We were wrong. Seth Meyers might be the only non-Jewish comedy writer with the first name Seth. It's hard to believe that Weird Al Yankovic isn't Jewish. He's got Jewish humor, Jewish hair, and 0 Jewish grandparents. Then we have Norman Jewison, who directed Fiddler on the Roof and literally has the word Jew in his name, but he's actually of English descent and not Jewish at all. Michael Cera feels very bar mitzvahed, but he actually has Sicilian ancestry. Jeremy Allen White is a carbon copy of Jewish icon Gene Wilder, not Jewish.
Okay, so yesterday on one of my videos, someone asked me, am I Jewish? And before I was able to answer them in depth and in full truth, because I am a saved Christian, they began to attack me so viciously that I was not able to answer them. So, let me answer in this video. Am I Jewish? According to the modern world, they would interpret an Ashkenazi Jew as Jewish, right? But theologically, Ashkenazi Khazarian Jews, like my blood family, do not follow the Torah. They're the Jews who call themselves Jews but aren't really Jews. Revelation 3:9. So theologically, a way that we could tell these people apart is that my family raised me in Kabbalah and with the Talmud and lots of mysticism that is not in the Torah, okay? So Jewish people, real Jewish people, follow the Torah, and Jesus fulfilled the Torah, so now Judaism is fulfilled, and those people should be Christians. So unfortunately, the Jews who do reject Jesus do end up part of the synagogue of Satan, even though they were originally Jews. Like in the sense that like the rejecting of Christ renders them the same as like a Khazarian Ashkenazi, right? Like myself. But like I'm saved by Jesus, Jesus saved me from Kabbalah and sex trafficking, and I was trafficked because of Kabbalah. My brother took his own life because of my mother's worship of Kabbalah. So yes, Jesus saved me from Kabbalah, and Kabbalah comes from Ashkenazi Khazarian ideology. It's the worship of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So, no, it's not anti-Semitic of me. Hi, I'm Ashkenazi. Like, hello, that's why everyone tells me I look like so-and-so from Hollywood, or this lady from Hollywood. You look like a white woman with brown hair from Hollywood, with brown eyes. Yeah, I'm Ashkenazi. Most of the women in Hollywood are Ashkenazi. Most people in Hollywood are Ashkenazi. And the ones who aren't Ashkenazi are, being, directed by those who are Ashkenazi. So, anywho, I wanted to clarify that, no, I'm not a real Jew, ethnically. And that's gonna make a lot of Ashkis really mad. They call themselves Ashkis instead of Ashkenazis because we don't want that N-word attached there, right? We don't want that Nazi word. Yeah, there's a reason. there's a whole, like, let me show you something. Okay. Straight from NBC News. It's disclosure. It's called revelation of the method. When they tell you what they're doing, like this, it's part of the occult. It's an occult ritual called revelation of the method to tell you, like, what they're doing, okay? So yeah, most Ashkenazi Jews are genetically European. Surprising study. Surprising. Oh, I'm so surprised.